Frank VanderSloot is with us right now, big Rubio backer, very influential in the party. And, you know, Frank, it's still early. He and Ted Cruz, that is your candidate, Ted Cruz, are fighting back and forth over who's going to get second. But if your candidate gets third, you know, he always trumpets these third-place showings. He's eventually got to do better than that, doesn't he?
Well, Neil, good to be with you on this very exciting night. I think that we're seeing some really great things happening for Marco Rubio tonight, in that he's separating himself into the first tier. And you know, if you do the math, the whole race changes. It's got to become apparent now to Jeb Bush and even to John Kasich that this is not their time. If they're patriots first and put themselves second and put the country first in front of themselves, then I think we can see a good possibility of them bowing out of this, and then it becomes a whole different ball game. And that's your understanding, now, right? That's been the expectation of the Rubio backers, right? That the support that would normally go to Bush or Kasich and that of it, or Carson, you know, Carson just said that's not the case, he's not going anywhere, would presumably be more inclined to go to Rubio? Is that such a sure thing? Oh, absolutely. I think so. Without any question, they're certainly not going to go to Donald Trump. They're not going to go to Ted Cruz. I don't think that either of those candidates are electable. That's what worries me about both of them, and that's why I'm hoping that Jeb Bush will do what I believe is the noble thing, and bow out, and John Kasich also, and then we've got a whole different ballgame. Do the math on that, and make the assumption that most of those go to Marco Rubio, which I believe they will. And then Marco Rubio is the winner tonight, and I think and hope that that's going to be what's coming up in the future in some of
all of those
future
guys,
primaries.
They all beat Hillary Clinton, you know. All of Donald Trump.
Well, Marco Rubio beats Hillary Clinton hands down with a far greater margin than any of the other Republican candidates. It's fairly close. I mean, I'm just saying that if you want to differentiate between the candidates, they're all in a good position against Hillary Clinton. The irony is they all lose to Bernie Sanders, which is a little weird. But what do you make of that? Well, I think Bernie Sanders loses to Hillary Clinton if tonight in Nevada is any indication. So I don't think we're going to be going against Bernie Sanders, and I don't think that most of the folks who are for Bernie, I think they're against Hillary. I think that's what you're seeing there. But I think that Marco Rubio is going to be the president of the United States. And I think what's happening tonight is... But you could live with Donald Trump if he were the nominee. I know you've asked you this before. You could live with Trump. I will tell you what, Donald Trump scares me to death. Now, that's not what I asked you, though. Would you live with Donald Trump if he were the nominee? I think that I'd rather have Donald Trump than Hillary, but if you've got Donald Trump, you've got a wild card that you really don't know what you've got. All my colleagues with me here. Lou Dobbs?
Yeah, Frank, one question, because you're talking about Bush doing the noble thing. The noble thing for Bush in his mind may be to persevere. At any rate, he seems to be the only candidate, at least entertaining the idea, if indeed he is, to withdraw. It's still a five-man race after the results in South Carolina. I don't see that as, frankly, substantive winnowing on the part of South Carolina. Do you? Well, I think that you now have Tier 1 and Tier 2. I think that Marco Rubio, if the rest of the evening plays out like it's playing out right now, he comes in with more than twice his closest contender. And I think that that's a great move forward. And I think other folks like myself are going to take that as a very good sign. And I think there's going to be a lot of money that line up behind Marco Rubio. And that's what he needs to get his message out. He's got the most resounding message. He believes in what most of the Republican Party stands for. And I think that he's going to separate himself from the rest of the pack.
Frank,
and I think what's happening tonight is exactly what we needed to see happen.
Hey, Frank, you said Trump scares you to death, so that means you can't really live with him, is what you really meant by that.
Well, I can't really live with Hillary Clinton either. So
what specifically scares you about Donald? You know, aside from his rhetoric, which, you know, some of that is hyperbole and played for the camera, but, you know, he makes some very substantive... listen, we would not be talking about the problems with illegal immigration were it not for Donald Trump. I mean, he's brought a very substantive issue that is economic. You can't have open borders and a welfare state. By the way, that's not Donald Trump, that's Milton Friedman who said that. You can't have that, and Donald's brought it to the forefront. Do you have a problem with that?
I think that he has brought some things to the forefront, and I do like the fact that he speaks his mind, but if you go to what he really believes in and what he's really done and what he's done in history, this idea of making America great again. He wants to make Donald Trump great. That's what his whole life has been donated to or dedicated to.
Yeah, but they're all kind of like that. There's not a single egomaniacal one. No one. Listen. Marco Rubio, I'm sure, is a nice guy, but he's got to have an ego the size of the White House, or else he wouldn't have been a politician his entire life.
Oh, I don't buy that for a second. I think there are great, noble leaders
So you think they're all humble?
Would be great presidents.
Trump's the only egomaniacal guy.
I'm not suggesting that they're all that humble, but Donald Trump is way on out there. He is beholden to a special interest, and that is Donald Trump. And if that's not clear to people, then I think that they're absolutely blind.
Let me tell you.
How,
you know, it's better than Acorn. It's better than the Business Council and all these establishments.
It is indeed.
Listen, I critique Donald all the time. I'm always beating on him about something. But, you know, the fact that he is non-establishment, you know, is something that I think is appealing. He doesn't have to worry about you know, what the guys at the Business Roundtable have to say about one of his positions. And I think that's kind of a good thing.
All right.
No, but he is beholden to Donald Trump. There's no doubt about that. And it worries me the fact that he's willing to do anything. His rhetoric worries me. His attack on individuals worry me. I don't think those are presidential things, and I don't think those are things that would be good for the United States of America to have as the President of the United States.
Well, Frank, I love you to death, but if ego were a problem, I mean, I think we could disqualify pretty much everybody and don't even get into the television news.
I suspect so.
Please don't do that.
But Donald Trump's
I have no ego, let me tell you.
It's very good having you, Frank, and I do appreciate you taking the time.